Good afternoon. We would like to convene the Single Family Design Board meeting for December 18th, 2023.
Recording in progress.
It's our last meeting for the year 2023. Happy holidays to everybody. We will start the meeting by conducting roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair Kalas. I will proceed with roll call. Chair Kalas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Graffitti?
Yes.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Okay. The next item is under general business is public comment. So this is an opportunity for anybody from the general public to speak to this board about any item that is under our purview, but that is not agendized on today's formal agenda. And I will ask Ms. Fatel to take care of that for us.
Thank you, Chair Kalas. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I have no slips, and if anyone wishes to speak, they may fill out a slip and hand it to me. However, I see no one in the audience moving to fill out a slip, so next I will go to virtual comment and see if we have anyone there who wishes to make a comment. I don't see a hand raised, so at that, we did not receive any particular correspondence for general public comment, so I will turn it back to you, Vice Chair Klaas. Chair Klaas.
Thank you. Okay, next item is item B, which is approval of the minutes of the Single Family Design Board meeting from December 4th. So I will ask, I have some comments on this, but I would like to ask the other board members if they have any comments on these draft meeting minutes before we ratify these.
No.
So let's see. Under item 1 of the motion for item 1, so this is item 1, motion, and then and then condition 1 of the motion. I think that should read that the window on the second story toward the center of the elevation is to have a head height that matches the head height of the pop-out to the east. And item 3 appeared to be a little bit confusing the way this was stated. So I believe that after the word, first sentence, chiseled edge, comma, no cut edge shall be used, because that is only referring to the top cap. And then the next statement should be, it shall, the wall stone shall be an ashlar pattern. An example of a traditional ashlar stone pattern may be seen on the site walls at the front of Roosevelt School. I recall we talked about that. If we could add that sentence, please. Item 2, under the motion, again, this is the second item under the motion. The board would like to see a project that is, rather than continues to be, in better conformance with the project design approval approved set of drawings. The second statement should say, we can delete in terms of, and it should just read the windows on the second floor. And it should continue as it does until it completes itself. And then the next sentence is, the board needs specifications for the proposed siding. And that statement will continue as it is written. Item 3, guardrail should be singular, and rather than it saying the features that appear to be currently lacking, it should be that are currently lacking. Awning should also be singular in that sentence. And under item 4, motion, and then number 4 under the motion, the applicant shall study different roof solutions on the second floor to bring the actual or apparent scale down. Number 5 should read, provide renderings of the project from eye level, not at eye level. And under item 5, Motion number 5. I believe the last statement, you guys can correct, ladies can correct me if I'm wrong here. However, the proposed horse barn does not, this is the second sentence under the 5th comment. However, the proposed horse barn does not necessarily need to match the residence or other structures on site, and it may reflect a compatible but slightly different architectural style given the agrarian use of the building, is what I felt like that should say. Pardon me?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay, because I think the discussion was that it was fine the way it was and matching, but that if the applicant chose to do something that was slightly different, we felt as though there was space to do that aesthetically.
Yep.
Okay, those are my comments. No other comments? Okay. Make a motion. I'll make a motion to ratify the meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. And if we could take a roll call, please?
Yes, roll call. Board member, excuse me, yeah, board member, no, excuse me. Chair Kalas, my brain just.
It's okay. I am
It's
a board
okay,
member.
we're feeling the same.
Yes.
Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Board member Graffiti.
Yes.
Thank you, motion passes.
Okay. And then we have approval of the consent calendar of December 11th, if we could bring that up. And my understanding is that Ms. Sherry was present for that. She's not present today, but we have not received any comments from her in regards to that item. So I believe that we can move on that and make a motion, if somebody would like to do that.
I will make a motion to approve the concept meeting minutes from December 11th?
Okay, I'll second that. And if we could take a roll call, please?
Yes. Board member Kalas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Board member Graffiti,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to item D, which is announcements, requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items, and appeals. Do we have anything from staff?
Yes, we do have a few news items. So the appeal for 101 Santa Cruz that went in front of the Planning Commission on the 14th of this month, it was denied. And the project at 3208 Laurel Canyon, there was an appeal also applied to the Planning Commission, and it was actually dropped by the appellant, and the applicant actually formally withdrew their planning application. So they are no longer pursuing their project, and yeah, they've decided not to go forward with the project. And another item I wanted to mention is that we've had some recent staff changes, and so the one that will apply most specifically to this board is that I've been appointed assistant planner, so I'm going to be taking over from Holly Garson. So I will be the new SFDB full board liaison. So that's exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, it says Holly left notes in here that she's moving into development review, so she's still going to be with the city, and you will probably see her again a few times throughout the year next year.
Okay.
And then let's see. The next SFDB consent hearing and consent hearings that we'll have will be on January 16th, 2024. We do have projects scheduled for the 8th, which is the first hearing we'll have back. So just an update on that, and that's the news. Thank you, guys.
Okay, great. Is there, and then I did notice just for the record that it appears as though the third item on today's agenda has been postponed. Is that correct?
Yes, that has been postponed to the applicant's request, and I will go ahead and also reiterate that when we get to that item 3.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the board under these items? Okay. Okay, with that, I think we can move on to the first agendized item, which is 691 North Hope Avenue. This is here for final approval and an annexation from the County of Santa Barbara into the City of Santa Barbara General Plan Amendment, Rezone, Tentative Subdivision Map, and Modification were approved by the City Council in January 2020 for this project. A proposal is to construct a new 3,121 square foot, 2-story, single-unit residence with an attached 461 square foot home on a 13,736 square foot lot, which is 85% of the maximum required floor-to-lot area ratio. Today, final approval is requested. The plans require substantial conformance to the plans that received project design approval on March 28th of last year, 2022, and the project was last reviewed 2 weeks ago, December 4th, 2023, here at full board. So if you could please introduce yourselves and run us through the meeting minutes from the last, which we just went through. We're pretty familiar with them at this point. And also any changes that were made to address those.
Sure. I'm Detlev Piker, principal with RRM Design Group, principal architect.
And I am Gabby, designer with RM Design Group.
Welcome.
Yeah, so I think we keep it pretty simple here. We just read out the minutes, and we have, I think we submitted a series of responses to all of those items.
Okay.
And we can start with.
Excuse me, sorry I have to interrupt. Would you mind turning on your microphone there at the bottom of the base? There'll be a button in the center, and when it's green, there you go. Thank you.
Move it up.
Yeah.
Sure. So I was just saying that we'd like to just go through a series of responses to the items that were listed in the minutes. But I do want to say one thing I think that's important, and I think you mentioned yourself just a moment ago, is that final approval is contingent upon the design, the final construction documents in this case, conforming substantially to the design that was approved, the PDA approval. And I think it's important because I know at the last meeting it seems that there were some very particular comments made about something that should be exactly as it was in the approved design. But as you all know, as architects, when a design is constantly evolving and it's being improved, I should say, in a lot of different ways. And there are going to be some minor differences between what was approved at PDA and what the final drawings represent. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind, the word substantially in conformance. So starting with sheet A201, which refers to the windows on the north elevation. Second-story windows were revised, moved over to the west, and are equally spaced. The spacing works well with the interior, and the reason for that slight change from the design approval, which had the windows kind of closer together and more in the center of that elevation, is simply that the layout of the bathroom is such that we could not facilitate replicating the exact image of the windows as they were represented there. And so you can see there are three separate windows that had to kind of move over to the left to accommodate the toilet space, the shower, etc.
Yeah, sorry if I could interrupt.
Sure.
You should be able to navigate the plans by using the scroll feature. Yeah, not the bookmark feature. We might have too many plans open up on the computer to allow for that, so apologies for that.
Yeah, so there you see those windows. There's still 3 windows that facilitate the overall layout of the bathroom. So that's where we are on that one. Then the front entry door needs to conform with what was approved, reviewed at PDA. We did go ahead and change and revise the double door to smaller side lights, and the door has vertical planks, etc. So that was changed. I'm not sure why it needed to be, but I mean, we certainly went ahead and made that change. The garage door needs to conform with what was approved, reviewed at PDA. The north elevation sheet A201 shows that the garage has been revised. I think probably one of the more important issues as far as the neighbors were concerned was the pool equipment. And we've relocated that further to the east. We'll get that up on the screen here. Site plan. So you can see that it's really relocated to the other side of the property, a long distance from the neighbor who was concerned about the location at the end of the pool over there. So that, I think, kind of takes care of that one. The north elevation and stairwell need to be stucco, not siding. Stairwell exterior now shows stucco. Again, I'm not sure why that was important, but we thought it was looking good with siding, but we're also fine with changing it to stucco. Then awning details need to be included. Sheet A901, details 33 and 35 show the awning details.
The trellis awning and the awning in the south elevation.
Yeah. And then siding needs to clearly show it as wide plank, shown in A10.25, wide plank on exterior elevation, A201 and A202. Material schedule and the A910 color and materials sheet.
Can you zoom in on that for us so that we can just see that it's specifying?
This is different.
I'm just trying to understand the. I know it's so cumbersome to work on somebody else's laptop, and we all get used to our own equipment and.
Apologies. This is not working as fast as I want it to.
Yeah, and through the board to the applicant, it looks like when you're highlighting on that zoom feature, you might be able to move the box on the right side. You see how there's a box highlighted over the page? I think you can click and drag that box.
Ooh, look at that, tricky.
Much better.
Okay, there it is. So the width is 10.25 inches. Great. Okay.
Yeah, and then railing details were needed to be included for the exterior stairs, and that's shown on A904, stair detail 7.
That's a stair railing. And that's for a stair that occurs presumably in the landscape. So it's not a guardrail, it's just a handrail.
It is a handrail and guardrail on the exterior stair connected to the home. I'll show you.
Okay. Oh, okay.
one here.
That makes more sense. Okay, thank you.
And that's it.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
I'd just like to get this thing approved today.
All right.
Please.
Okay. I think we might be able to do that. Looks like we might have what we need. Okay, so with that, we'll close the applicant's presentation and we'll open this up for public comment.
Thank you, Chair Kalas. I'll start with in-person public comment. Audience moving to do so. Next, we will go to virtual comment, of which I have, let's see, one attendee, but I don't show a hand being raised. So we will move on to correspondence. We did receive a correspondence from a Mr. Brian Costa, and that has been sent to the members. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Chair Kalas.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fell. Okay, any comments? Well, any questions? It's pretty, I guess we could kind of do just questions and comments at the same time. It's this, yeah.
Well, I like to see things side by side. I know it's cumbersome to go through 184 drawings, but, and maybe I can condense that, because I know we're trying to streamline things today, because everybody's like got Christmas too, in their minds along with work. So really, I think for me, since you revised everything and that we had as a condition for the last time, was just maybe those front bathroom windows. Those are the same as the 2 weeks ago submittal?
No.
Okay, so show me what it looked like. And they're very minor adjustments, I'm assuming, to the location of those. That is my question.
I think what would be informative, if I may, is to go back to the PDA drawings, look at those, then look at the ones from last week, and then look at what we have. So if that's possible, do we have the PDA drawings, the ones you have up right now, is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so that's what got PDA.
Okay, thank you.
There's the three windows. The three windows moved closer to the east, as shown here.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
There.
There it is, okay. So the original, it looks like they were closer to one another. Maybe there was a little bit more space over on the east side, and it looked like they have a common sill. But in the December 4th drawings that we last saw, are those up on this tab? Is that like the third tab over?
That is correct. Yes, it says old. Yeah, that was from the December 4th.
That's what we
hearing.
saw last time.
Right, and we've revised it to put 3 windows in there. Now, the design-approved windows had a sill that kind of stretched across and kind of unified them. But once we realized that we could not put them that close together, we didn't feel there was any real point in doing
Yeah,
that.
it makes more sense to eliminate that element, sure. Okay.
So that was my only question. My comments are, I feel like all of our items that we asked for 2 weeks ago have been addressed, and that we're potentially ready for final approval.
Okay. Ms. Graffitti?
Yeah, I agree. I think everything was addressed, and I think it's ready for final. The only thing I would, I don't know, leave, I guess, for conversation for us is I'm open to either siding on that front wall. I think there was more of a reason that we were driving for something else, but I'm open to either if, depending on how you two feel about it, it seems like the applicant might want the horizontal siding, but
For the stairwell you're talking about?
I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah, I agree that it's ready for final. I would prefer to see that element remain plaster because I think, number one, it conforms better to what was approved at PDA, and this has been a controversial project with the neighbors. Number two, I feel as though if that stairwell element is horizontal siding, that the front and element that comes out into the foreground, it starts talking to the receded element less. So it's like a A and a B as opposed to an A and a B, and then there's something that bridges the gap between them. And so I think I'm partial to seeing it left the way it's proposed today, but I agree that that you've addressed everything and that we are in a position to give you final. So would somebody like to make a motion? This is a big day.
I'm happy
Every
to.
time one of these gets done, this is a big day.
Sure, let's make it short and sweet. Vice Chair Anderson, do you have anything you want to add? No? Okay. Okay, great. I'm going to make a motion to grant final approval as the plans substantially conform to the plans that received project design approval on March 28th, 2022.
I will second that motion. And if we could have a roll call.
Yes, let's do roll call. Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Graffitti,
Yes.
motion passes.
Happy
you.
holidays.
You too, everyone.
And just before you guys take off, I just want to announce the appeal period. So it's 10 calendar days. I think we're all going to be giving Santa Claus cookies by that time. So after we open for the holiday break, you guys are more than welcome to submit for your building permit at the end of that appeal period. Thank you, guys.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Item 2 is 3239 Cliff Drive, which is here for concept review today. This is a proposal to construct a detached 1,200 square foot, one-story accessory dwelling unit located in the appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. The project also includes associated flat work, site walls, stairs, raised wood decks, a 622 square foot roof deck, planters, and revised landscape and stormwater improvements. Only the proposed ADU roof deck is under the SFDB purview. Approval of a coastal development permit is required by the staff hearing officer. A 3,620 square foot, two-story residence and a 484 square foot garage will remain and are not under the single-family design board purview. And then there's the references for those planning and BLD applications. The proposed total of 5,304 square feet of development on a 30,751 square foot lot is 102% of the maximum guideline floor to lot area ratio. No final appealable action will take place at this meeting. Neighborhood preservation findings in Hillside Design District and slope lot findings will be required when reviewed for project design approval. So I see that we lost our staff person, but I'm wondering if there are any staff comments or cautions before we move into this item.
Yes, there are some staff comments left to me from Ms. Garson. The first note is that there is actually an error on the blue public notice postcard that was mailed out for this project. It was the project description that was an error. On the card, it stated second-story accessory dwelling unit above garage, and it should have read detached one-story ADU with a roof deck. So just a matter of clarification. And again, as was iterated in the scope here, the roof deck, and only the roof deck, is under SFDB purview because it is located closer than 15 feet to the property line. And finally, the applicant was notified of this note before this hearing that parcels within the city's high fire hazard areas are not permitted to have green roofs, vines, and climbing ornamental plants on structures. So that means rooftop gardens and any vegetated roofs. So you'll see the project here. It does propose a green roof element, but it's going to be required to be removed as it goes through its planning process. So you see it here on the plans today, but it will not be on the plans at a later time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then I have a question for staff before Mr. Hashberger starts. So I'm a little bit confused because I thought that ADUs that sat forward of a main residence, even if they're not within the formal front yard setback, that they still trigger, and I'm asking the question, I'm not telling, all right, that I thought they still triggered our review. So can we get clarity on that, please?
I was trying to understand why this project was in front of the board today. Unfortunately for me, the case planner was not here, and I didn't know I'd be attending
Ask
this
this
hearing.
question? Okay.
Yeah, ask this question today. It is a zoning question that I would be more than happy to answer. I might be able to send a communication here to city staff and see if I can get an answer. But I'm a little bit arrested in my knowledge to just the scope of work that I have here in front of me, so I apologize for that.
It looks like the applicant may be prepared to answer that question for us. So I think what we'll do is we'll move on to the applicant's presentation, and we'll see if we can flesh that out during the presentation. If you would please state your name for the record and make sure your mic is on. Thank you very
Real.
much.
Hello, my name is Thomas Hashbarger. I'm with Designer. Thanks for taking time to hear the project. Yeah, the green roof, was news to our entire office. Is that particular to the coastal little bit in
That
the
is a great question.
fire hazard map? Everybody.
It might be particular to the coastal zone. Again, I did not perform the zoning review. I think that's a question I might be able
Okay.
to get answered, though. But,
Okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
the first time I've heard of it as well.
Yeah,
It would
Thank you.
make
because
sense that it's all high fire, though, to me.
well, it's been a resilient strategy for a long time to plant your sedums on your green roof and all good. So, okay.
Until you stop watering them.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah. But my reading in regards to the front yard location, my reading of the accessory dwelling unit guides is you can be further of the house if you meet four things. If you've got at least 20 feet setback, and we're, I don't know, how far? Way back. 1 story or less, 17 feet in height, which we are, screened from the street, which we aren't not even visible from the street, and then compatible with the main house.
Okay, thank you very much. That
Yeah.
answers the question. Thank you.
Yeah, and it didn't come up in our coastal completeness review and all that. Okay, so, yeah, so I'll try to put it in context, but we're really kind of just looking at the roof deck, essentially. But you can see, yeah, oh, you're welcome. So, yeah, we're just going to look at the roof deck. So, here's the ADU, and then in the distance is the house, and the ADU is the same vocabulary and materials as the main house. And then the ADU is on a site that slopes about 5 feet from the beach to cliff. And so we've kind of touched it down on the low side, so it's kind of hunkered into the site, just to kind of lessen its impact. It just felt better to kind of be more dwelling in the landscape. And so you can see how it's kind of depressed relative to the driveway and the site. I might be on a little bit relative to navigating. How do I go page to page? Here we go. So let's go to the context. We've got all the houses lined up here on the, oh, missed it. So Yankee Farm is dying into this property. So as you come up Cliff, right almost at the edge of the city limits. So what I'll be referencing a bunch is the house that could be, yikes. That didn't help at all. Oops. There we are. Zoom out again here. So here we are in context. Here's the beach. Here's a linear pool. Here's the main house that was permitted earlier in the year. The house has been torn down. It's great. It's being graded as we speak, weather depending. 2-car garage and a driveway coming up. And then here, this yellow rectangle is the ADU. On the eastern neighbor's side is their driveway and a 2-car garage. So we're pretty happy with the location of the ADU. I don't know who saw the project before, but this was a pickleball court in the previously designed house. Yeah.
Acoustical issues related.
Right, so, all good. So it's an ADU now. And so, yeah, so it's in a pretty benign location relative to this neighboring house, the garage, obviously isn't living space. It acts as kind of a buffer to the house. So that just puts it in context. Our client has spoken with this neighbor, and she's enthusiastically supporting of the idea. So then let's go down to, and just some dimensions. So the nearest window that's high in the garage is about 90 feet away, and then the beach-facing patios and whatnot are about 160 feet away from the roof deck that we're talking about. So let's go up to the site plan. There we go. Oh, there's the toggle, got it. So sorry for the flip-flopping. Now the beach is on the right. And there's the, yikes, sorry. There's the neighboring house. Here's our ADU that's kind of shown rendered there. Let me center it up. And so, and the main permitted residence and two-car garage. So we're hemmed in by the backup space of the garage, a leach field, a driveway. And so, but I do want to talk about the setbacks because we've really fought hard to maximize the setback from the neighbor. We could be 4 feet, and we're 9.5 feet, or 9 foot 5 inches. On top of that, when we go to the roof plan, you'll see that we pulled the roof deck back, buffered by a raised planter, which I don't know if that falls in the same category as a vegetated roof. We can talk about that. I mean, it's a hard planter, so at least the architecture of that acts as a buffer as well. So moving the ADU and its roof deck further here south on the page isn't an option just because we're so hemmed in by the maneuvering clearance of the garage. So let's go to the roof plan. And the leach field. Okay, so here we are. So here's the roof plan. So you come into grade relatively high because the driveway slopes up about 3 feet from left to right here. Short flight of stairs that leads up to the roof deck. So this first bit of gray color is the overhang, but then on the roof proper is a green roof, which for cost we've been inclined to remove anyway, with just like a Santa Barbara gold ballast. It'll be just fine. And then this other green area, that's the elevated raised sheet metal planter that acts as a buffer to the neighbor, and that is way off here to the right. And so in the view corridor that is kind of along where that long linear pool is, and over the single-story portion of the house is just due south toward the beach. So, and that'll be very private feeling for this roof deck. So again, the roof deck itself, the trigger was 15 feet for even being at SFDB in the first place, and we're at 11 foot 8. So let's go to these rendering sheets, and I can kind of give the lay of the land on the renderings. Probably a lot better than the elevations. Let's go to these lower two. Is there a hotkey for just zooming? Just Z? Let's try that. Nope.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure on that one.
So again, here's this model is cut off right at the property line, but you can see there's the 9 feet, and then there's the green roof, apparently to become gravel ballast. And then the buffering planter, raised planter, from the neighbor's side to the east and to the south. And then again, sort of a little bit more eye level, a little bit elevated eye level of that elevation. We've got high windows to the sleeping space, a cedar siding that matches what's happening on the house, kind of a privacy planter because this driveway of the neighbor kind of swoops around right there for this wood deck that kind of touches down on grade at the lower part of the site with mountain views. And then let's just zoom in here a little bit. So again, maybe 40% of that roof area is that roof deck. It's got a nice kitchen amenity up there, and some parapet walls that face the driveway. So anyway, so we feel like it's been sensitively designed for privacy for our client, but also kind of buffering views and whatever little impact would be to their kind of driveway area as well. So we're hoping you agree, and we'd love to move on to project design approval. The drawings are really well developed at this point. It's actually going to be constructed modularly by Bevy House, and so things are starting to mobilize in that direction. So, yeah, questions?
Okay, that completes your presentation? Okay, thank you. Okay, so at this time, we'll open the item to public hearing. Anybody who might have any comments? Ms. Safel?
Thank you, Chair Kalas. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I have no slips. However, if anyone wishes to make a comment, they could fill out a slip and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience making a move. I will next go to virtual comment. I do not see anyone that has their hand raised for virtual comment, so we will move on to correspondence. We did not receive any particular correspondence for this item, so at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Kalas.
Okay, great. So I'm going to open it up to questions from the board. Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions?
A couple. So is there a big difference grade-wise between your property and the east? Are they all
No,
roughly?
not
Yeah.
really. It's all relatively even, yeah.
Okay. Then, yeah, you spoke to the east neighbors. There is existing plantings too on their side or your side, or what are you proposing in regards to landscaping?
On the property line right now is a 6-foot-high fence, and I think a privet hedge, relatively new. That's just been re-landscaped this year, so there's a 6-foot-high and probably growing as we speak. So yeah, there's a hedge just on the neighbor's side of the property line, and then we're going to landscape as well. So there's going to be a lot of buffer.
Okay. Then is there a reason why you stopped the planters short of the deck on that east side? Your raised planter for privacy? Is there a view you're trying to catch to cliff, or I'm just kind of curious on the size too?
Yeah,
With
on the
a
east
small
side.
ADU. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go to that. Let's go to that roof plan. Here we go. On this side, why we stopped the raised planter? Yeah, just to kind of, it's about 80% of the length of the roof deck, well beyond kind of any need for privacy at that point, and then also to capture the mountain views from kind of the seating area of the roof deck. Yeah. So it's kind of just where it needs to be for privacy on both ends, and then open it up to the beautiful mountain views.
Okay, any further comments or justification around the size of the roof deck for an ADU? I mean, there's probably 8 occupants in that ADU. Just trying to, any,
Oh, for this,
the overall size of the deck is something that we look at as well, right? And you're asking, I mean, typically anything over 250 is what we're used to seeing, and you're asking for 632 or 22. So just curious in regards to what the plan is, how many people on the roof deck, I don't know.
I think it's more just in proportion in proportion to the main house and the kids and grandkids and the proposed, ultimate use of the property. It'll probably have 2 people on the short-term few years, but once the main house is completed, there could be more. So it's more not to seem out of proportion to the ADU itself, but the ADU is also a part of kind of the compound with the main house.
Got it.
So it's in context to the main house, really.
Okay. I think those are my only. I got the grade. I don't know. Heights. Maybe you just go over the plate heights with us, though you did set it down 5 feet.
Yes. Yeah, we are. It's a 10-foot plate. It's hunkered into the ground, and we're showing a 30-foot sort of coastal height limit on here. And we verified it today. The 17 sort of asterisk height limit for the front yard issue, we're about a foot under. It kind of clips the guardrail. And if the guardrail is seen as an architectural projection, then we're good because the roof is maybe only 12 feet. I don't know, would the guardrail be like, it's not really part of the roof. That's a projection, right? The kind of the cable rail that's up there? But
Yeah, I mean, it's being a cable rail like that, it doesn't have much mass to it, right? So
Yeah.
I could see that would be acceptable.
Okay. Where's that elevation? Just passed it up. Yeah, so we're under that 17-foot, that more constrained height limit because of the front yard.
Okay,
Yeah.
with that small exception. Yeah. Okay. Did you have any other questions, Ms. Anderson?
Don't. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Grafiti?
Yeah, I have a couple more. So I guess just a question for staff, and we might not have the answer today, but I just want to confirm for the planters themselves, are we saying that is also not allowed because of the fire zone?
So I was able to communicate with some city staff over here, and they explained that it would ultimately be up to the fire department to actually make that determination during plan review.
Yeah.
So at this point, what I would suggest in comments is if you do find the design of the current planner as proposed, if you have positive comments for that feature, to include them. Again, this hearing is non-binding, so if it turns out they can't keep the planner, then they can just get rid of it. But as designed, I think it's okay to provide comments on it, and fire will determine if that's
Intention for that to be hedging or trees, or do you have any idea at this point?
I think on our side, it can be more decorative because the height is already covered on the neighbor's side, the relatively new 6-foot-high kind of privet-looking hedge. So I think it would just be, we need to have access here too. So I think it's
Okay.
just going to be sort of decorative and
Okay.
not intended to compete, to kind of have double privet hedges side by side
Okay.
there. Yeah.
And then only other question is, do you know of any other roof decks in the area, either on an ADU or a primary residence?
I'm sure there are. I couldn't point them out to you in our context study.
Yeah, I didn't see any, but I just figured I would ask you.
There's, obviously heaps of on-grade items. There's some elevated wood decks that are also kind of slightly elevated as well. But we can certainly find out.
Okay, that is, I believe, all my questions.
Okay.
Thanks.
I have a question. So I'm assuming that you're here today in part to get comments for your staff hearing officer review. Is that
Yep.
correct? Okay. So I'm going to make a suggestion here, and please step in, Mr. Herrick, if you think this is out of line. But because there's this issue about the vegetation on the roof, and in an effort to provide the applicant with direction that will help us from having to go through another round once you've talked to fire department, I think it would be advisable for the board to comment on the project as proposed and possibly to make comments as it relates to what we're seeing and what might be some plausible or acceptable, I don't want us to get into the business of doing design here, but I also am trying to provide you with some direction in the event that staff says, no, you can't have those planters. Because if we have concerns about privacy, I just want us to find a way to comment upon that so that the applicant has some meaningful direction that they can take in order to remove the planters and design accordingly. So that when you come back to us, hopefully we're in a position to just approve you.
Yeah, sounds good.
So that's just a recommendation. Can I see the, I guess it would be the south, it's funny because south is up, but could I see the south elevation of the ADU if you have one, please?
It's kind of a rendered version, but it's very straight on. Zoom in here a little bit more.
Okay. Okay, and do you know what the height is of the metal planter box itself off of, I'll call it off of the finished floor level of the deck? So how much is that screening, I guess, from the roof deck without the planting?
Oh,
is my
above
question.
the standing surface, it's
Correct.
2 feet exactly.
It's 2 feet above the standing surface.
And that could be elevated, and I'm hoping that the fire department will allow agaves or something. Like if there's a plant list
Right.
that's resilient, we could slightly raise the planter and have more low-growing resilient plants in there rather than kind of what we're thinking, which was a little bit more lush.
Okay. Yeah, you're showing something more reed-like that would basically match almost the height of the guardrail is what I'm seeing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then if I could see the east elevation again, please.
And then if I could interrupt when it comes to plant choices, and if you would like to comment on that, would you mind switching? What we're looking at here is the guidelines for landscaping within high fire zones, and there is a list of plants that are prohibited. So if you wanted to just do a very quick kind
Just
of
make sure
eyeball
we're
of it.
not picking from that list.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it's essentially yes. And again, I believe in the circumstances like this where we get into the details for a conceptual hearing, it might not be beneficial. It might be best if in your motion making to simply say plants that are not in the prohibited plant list, that are native or what have you, to fit within parameters of approval if that's how you would like to approach this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so you're planning on having a gravel ballast where we're seeing the green roof, and I'm assuming that would become all one level then? You wouldn't have the curb condition that we're seeing for the turf or for the green roof? Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. That would just extend to the farthest extent of the eave and gutter. There'd be a gravel stop there and it'd be gravel.
Yeah, you'd have that curb condition at the guardrail on the north side, and then it would just be the all one level for the rooftop. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a 12-inch fascia that kind of contains the sloping sleepers and the wood deck and all that.
Okay. And then just, I think this is a rendering thing, but the dark spaces that are showing between the reeds, I'll call it, is that just intended to be the structure behind it? Is that what that is? It's just a gap, right? It's just a space that's showing it's not some sort
Between
of
the
built form?
plants,
Yeah,
it's just rendering funky.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. It almost read like swagged fabric or something.
No,
So
that's
it's
just meant to be just a lovely kind of linear planter.
Simple,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Those are my only questions.
okay.
Okay, so any comments? Okay, I'm going to start. Everybody's taking too long. I want to get out of here. Okay, I can support the planter if it is deemed acceptable by the fire department. I can, although the roof deck is larger than we typically like to see, I think this is, this is a fairly sizable parcel. I think that the ADU is sited in a way where it's not going to create privacy issues for the easterly neighbor, because, anything that you're going to be looking at is effectively their driveway. It's just a circulation space for vehicles. I don't see the cone of vision being such that you can look into the backyard of the easterly neighbor. From the way you've described the layout of their home and the floor plan of their home, the garage would screen, their garage, the easterly neighbor's garage would screen any visibility into the house. If the planters cannot remain, I think that the layering that's occurring from the east and the south elevation is important for the massing of the ADU's roof deck to read properly. And so I would, if the planters have to go away because you don't find that you can raise them and have it feel proportionately correct with a lower growing like agave or something, like succulents, I think that screening is important on the east and the south side. And I think that that should be provided in some other way. Maybe it's a diffused, clear, non-glare something. Maybe a diffused, non-glare something. I shouldn't say clear. Maybe it is maybe it's a solid wall. Maybe it's a filigreed, some sort of geometric metal panel. But I do think that the layering is important. The idea that the planter is lower and the guardrail is taller and behind it, I think that's what makes this successful. And so I would be concerned about the planter coming up to 42 inches, for example. I think you're going to lose, it's going to start feeling top heavy.
Yeah.
So that's my comment. Screening needs to be retained in some way, whether it's as proposed or with some sort of tertiary material on the guardrail itself. And that the layering is important. But I can support it in its location because I don't think it creates privacy concerns for the closest neighbor. Ms. Graffiti.
Okay, I think I definitely agree with all your comments regarding the planter and the railing, if that needs to change. Generally, I think I can get on board with it. I do think it's a little bit big in size. I can only imagine potential future parties. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm glad that you talked to the neighbor and that she's supportive. I'm more worried maybe about noise, I don't know, than actual view if we have the planters and just the location of it. At the same time, if you brought it in 3 feet further from the fence line, I don't think we'd be here today. So I don't think that's monumental enough to not be in support. So all of that, I think generally in support.
Okay, great. Ms. Anderson?
Yeah, I'm in support of approving for concept. I think that, you've been sensitive, like Ben said, to the neighbors, as well as, the 5-foot depression on site to, reduce the height of it. And the setback, 11-foot 8 versus the 15-foot is really justified with the narrowness of the site. I believe we can move forward with our comments on concept.
Okay. I'll just try to make a quick motion here. So I'd like to make a motion that the board is in support of the project and would like to continue this to the staff hearing officer with positive comments that the roof deck is aesthetically appropriate for the ADU in form, massing, materials, and size, and that we can support the roof deck because the neighbor has been communicated with. We don't think that it's going to create a privacy issue for the easterly neighbor due to its relationship to the development on the easterly parcel. And the elevation at which the ADU is set helps to minimize its height and massing relative to the easterly parcel. Would anybody like to second that or second that and amend that?
If I could add, I know each of you discussed, just include in the comments here, hold on.
Options?
Yes, I think you noted when you were talking with the board that the screening is to be retained in some form as proposed.
Okay.
Yeah. to
Thank
include
you for
something
the
to that
reminder.
note. Uh-huh.
So I will continue my motion then and amend it with the following verbiage. If the planter cannot be retained due to high fire requirements, the board would at minimum like to see a continued layering of the volumes that are currently formed by the planting box and the guardrail, and we would like to ensure that screening continue to be provided on both the easterly and south side of the guardrails, or of the deck. Okay, I think now we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
And if we could take a roll call.
Roll call. Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Graffitti.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good comments.
Thank
Have
you.
a happy holiday.
Yeah, thanks, you too.
And sorry to interrupt again here, but I just wanted to say that item 3, and if you could switch the, to all the people tuning in right now. Item 3 has been continued by the applicant, so it will not be heard today, and it has been continued indefinitely to January 16th, 2024. So if you're tuning in for that item, again, it will be open for January 16th, 2024. And with that, Board Member Kalas, you can take it away.
Okay, so I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and I need to make an apology to Ms. Safel because I pronounced your last name Fatel earlier, which is incorrect, so I'm sorry. Hope everybody has a happy holiday, and this officially adjourns our last meeting, December 18th for 2023. Have a good evening.
Yay.